Experience and the brainy. Meet Selena, Dorcas, Gifty, and Annette as they present the Real Nkomo nketenkete. Nkomo biaye sesi chin. The dead. Asentakre nu assume the dead. The Real Nkomo nketenkete. Showing live this and every Sunday, 7 p.m. on Era One Radio on Facebook and on YouTube, Era One Radio and on Taibo channel. Kaise, so we see the Real Nkomo nketenkete ya. Wa brabon tete. We nyan konkonsa. We ye the Real Nkomo nketenkete.
Hello, abusiafo. The Real Nkomo nketenkete etie for yabedwafo enwumre kwasi adadri die na moani tia se nkomo no esese yetena se na yebetwetwe nkomo efie mu nkomo se de beye ababia beye enika ebeye enije ya warie mu ye mbatitie mu ye relationships with ye now for nom ya sorry your community baby aye wono se de beye ho beye enika na beye enije enti na the Real Nkomo nketenkete ewo ho enti anwumre wahu se na nso aboy die na chese ebre no aso se yetena se na yetwetwe nkomo mabedwafo CEO wife sister Dorcas or ha sister Dorcas ye mawakwa aba na sister Selena ye mawonso akwa aba bibi nti ye nsofo ma me secretary Onyendru ha sister party so enyambaye enso no ye betwa so ochiame ene mi di dwumade ho chiabi na gifty me mamu nyina akwa aba na enwumre ye nya osrafo stronko kra munim se dwumade ni yenko aye ntumi ndi etoda enam se ye nya professionals ntino esese ye kope professionals na ye deba ebe baake ye general knowledge no nse ye de jeje ye ni kekewu se de yete ha ni abedwa enum kakra ni ye life experiences na ye share na enwumre ye nya okuni oduyefo Dr. Beryl Ochre doctor ye Dr. Huna keke chese obi wo hodoma otimi fa doctor ne to ne ho so keke no ordinam na we die wabo abodin ankasa doctor dentist general dentistry so wana doctor nyesa Dr. Ochre ebesi Texas na enwumre enam se ye ndwumadie no yetimi eto ye nsafre obia no ye nya akwanya kese ye ni age se Dr. Ochre ebesra ye enwumre na enam so ye dentist nti no ye oral care anase apomudin esese ye fa ebo ewo ye se ho ye num ye bibia efa ye dentist dwumadie nyina ho no ye doctor ebe bobo ni nyina so amayen ye mofra yankasa ye kununum ye mai obi wo ho a owo insurance enso kra no onko dentist no na eja yako hwehwehwehwe ne seno ama no clinic so aba bibia ye kama ene doctor beka ni nyina ho asem ahye enti doctor yema akwa aba pa eba era one dwumadie so the Real Nkomo nketenkete so nansa na yebekoso no yebema abedwafo akwenya na omo ama etiefo ne wa adofo shout out wo adofo bi oho ana se wo pese wo chi a ekwan eda ho sabre enti mesha se Obadokas go ahead na fema o shout out na sister Selena ako na doctor so minim se wo so wa adofo na fe wo pese wo chi a obi a ekwan eda ho sa medase
yo sister Gifty medase Nkomo nketenkete etiefo nyina ena nwumre so ye chiamo bebi biara wo bia yesro ebre na so enti won sa ka link na wo so efama onu ebi na kase emaya no atena se ye bedi nkomo nkɔmmɔ a ɛboa wɔ fie ɛno nti bra na yɛni nkɔmmɔ anwummerɛ yɛka shout-out kɛseɛ paa kyerɛ mu nyinaa nkɔmmɔ nketenkete atiefoɔ nyinara titiriw na yɛn nuanom Ghanafoɔ a musiri pɛ na mohwɛ yɛn mo a monhwɛ yɛn saa bere na mobɛhwɛ yɛn akyire no yɛkyia mu nyinaa ɛne nti anwummerɛ deɛ yɛkyia mu nyinaa yɛatena ase mommra ma yɛni nkɔmmɔ meda Sister Gifty
Obaseli.
Yo, that's it. And you may so be ye my in I ho akwa beam. Ye chair dofo nyina, ye chair London for ma mo hwe nyina, mo sie akunya ne mo kaka mo ho se ebi mu nuru ha mo frɛ wɔ mo na nyina ye metie Dr. Otre e wo ene adesua a ode be ma ye that's it.
Dr. Otre.
Okay, thank you. So good evening. I hope you're all doing well. I'm losing my voice. I apologize. But hopefully you can hear me. I'm going to try to project my voice. I will be talking this evening about pediatric oral health. I have a presentation. I don't know if it's Sister Dorcas. Do you know if they can see? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to talk about pediatric dental health. And again, my name is Dr. Beryl Autry. I'm a general dentist. I've been practicing for about 4 years now. And I want to start the PowerPoint. I have some.
Dr. Oshie, hold on for a second. All right. I just wanted to give you a chance to shout out to your friends, family, whoever, before we start. And see, Dr. Achia Nebusiafuewie, you know, may introduce you kakra and Nema and then Obeka and Wasem. Now, this month, focus on pediatric oral care, and I say, more frano, a kwaya befaso, na share mo. And you say, ye chromo de, a jaw sorry, hanopa, now we now body training will be the ebia. Ebia nede, be no, ebi ni hobium, but Pepsodents are Dawson, different ones. And na unya will had to brush be no chichia, not say, and no. Na doctor, yenim say, yeba chromo hey, okwa regular check-up crampa. Doctor ni bisa say, who called o dentist or and I say, oh, abofra, o de ne ko ana here be in here. Say you take care of teeth, and I say, oral care, young kasa as adults, and not more frano so inti ye be ma kwan na fe o presentation afi de wa sha se me that say.
I should start my presentation.
You can. You
okay.
Can start however you want to.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll shout out my family, my husband, and my kids, which I'll talk about them too. But yeah, just introducing myself. I grew up in the Ghanaian community. I realized there's not a lot of dentists, but for some reason I had interest in that field. So from about high school, I decided I wanted to do dentistry. So by God's grace, about 4 years ago, I was able to graduate in Houston, and I've been practicing since then. And I'm a general dentist, so I treat adults and children, do a little bit of both. Today, like Sister mentioned, I really want to talk about pediatric oral health. So like I said, I'm a general dentist. I grew up mostly in Dallas, Texas. And I'm currently in San Antonio, Texas. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And like I said, I went to school in Houston. And this is my son, my baby. And I wanted to say, use the smile to change the world. Don't let the world change your smile. I want to start off just talking about how important our primary teeth are. So baby teeth, primary teeth, the same thing. So the first set of teeth that you get in your mouth from infancy, 8 months, I'm going to talk about why they're important, because some people will think they're going to come out, so they're not important. But they're very important because they set the stage for what will come next. And if there's problems with these teeth, it can translate into the adult teeth. So they're very, very important. And specifically, there's different things different roles they play. So the first is mastication, chewing, digestion. So for a young child, they're going to start solids around 6 months. So 6 months is also when God designed for teeth to start coming in the mouth. And so if they have issues where teeth are not coming in, it can affect their ability to actually consume food. That's very important. And then speech. I'm struggling with my speech this evening, but
Yeah.
we're going to push through. For speech, you need teeth to produce sounds. And so for a child to learn how to speak, they actually need their teeth to come in, because just the way that speech works, you need teeth. Aesthetics. So your smile is oftentimes linked to your confidence, even for a child. So your smile is important because people see your smile, it affects your self-confidence. And then they're also the placeholder for the adult teeth. And so in order to actually get your adult teeth on time, you need your baby teeth to stay in your mouth until the right time that they come out. And I'll go into that more in my next slide. But also development of the craniofacial system in order to actually have your full face develop, your lips, your tongue to be in the right position, you need the teeth. If teeth are missing, it causes other problems. Or if teeth are broken or something happens, they come out early, it causes other problems. The last thing I've listed here is habits. So as we all know, habits are very important. Whatever you do on a day-to-day basis, it affects your lifestyle. So if a child learns early, we brush our teeth 2 times a day, we take care of our teeth, we don't eat certain foods, that's something that will translate throughout life. I've had many patients with a lot of dental issues, and they're like, my parents did not prioritize dental health, so they continue that and affected them later. So that's why it's important. I want to highlight here the fact that certain teeth are meant to come in at certain times. So basically, starting at 6 months, that's when you get your first 6-month-old baby, all the way up to like 33 months, 3-year-old will get all of the baby teeth. So they get 20 baby teeth. Later on, those teeth will be replaced, but that doesn't start till age 6. So imagine from 0 to 6, you're relying on this set of teeth. And that's a very formative and important, critical time. So it's very important that you're taking care of their teeth as they come in. So from 6 months going, you can brush their teeth. As long as they have even 2 teeth, you can get a very small pediatric soft toothbrush, and you can start to brush 2 times a day with a very little bit of toothpaste, just a smear of toothpaste. You can start to brush. It's very important. Again, the habit has to transfer, has to become a habit. So this just shows you that there's a sequence. And basically, like I said, 2 times a day for 2 minutes, you want to do a small smear of toothpaste and brush the child's teeth. The child will need help brushing their teeth until they can write their name. So until they're about 5 or 6, you need to help your child brush their teeth. Just because even though from 4 going, they're going to feel more confident, they're not going to do a good job. So they need the dexterity to write their name, and that means they have the dexterity to brush their teeth by themselves. You want to watch them, make sure they're getting every side, every tooth, 2 times a day for 2 minutes. As they grow, the teeth will kind of start to touch and get contact. When some of the teeth start touching, then you can floss between the teeth. If you don't know what floss is that string that they sell in the oral hygiene section. You want to use that to floss their teeth. The other thing you want to be aware of is fluoride. So fluoride, chemical, if you will, but it's something that's naturally found that actually helps make your teeth stronger. It makes the teeth, what we call in dentistry, remineralize. It puts minerals back into the tooth. And so you want to make sure they're getting fluoride. Where do they get fluoride? Toothpaste, number 1. So you want to make sure the toothpaste you're using has fluoride in it. Number 2, drinking water, tap water has fluoride. I just want to stop. Can you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm really struggling.
Yes, we do. Yep.
Okay. Tap water has fluoride, but most of us aren't drinking like straight tap water. Most of us drink bottled water. So that's okay. So toothpaste, number 2, tap water. Number 3, when you see a dentist can apply fluoride to your teeth. That's actually one of the best places to get fluoride. If you're seeing us every 6 months, we can apply it to your teeth. Usually it's a sticky varnish that we put on your teeth. And it's very important for children that they get fluoride, adequate fluoride, because it's going to prevent cavities. It's going to make their teeth stronger, and it's going to help their teeth be healthier over time. The picture shows you how much you would use for a child. So at the bottom, we have a smear on one side. Then when they're like 2 or 3, they can do pea size. Maybe about 6 years and up, they can do the regular amount that an adult would do. So I want to talk about dental caries or dental cavities. This is the number 1 problem we have in dentistry. So basically, what can happen over time if sugar has time on your teeth? So sugar, where are we getting the sugar from? Candy, soda, even certain juices have more added sugar, certain drinks, certain snacks. So a lot of the things we consume have sugar. If we're not cleaning our teeth well, or we have too much sugar in our diet, more time for it to sit on the tooth, it can actually break down the tooth structure and cause a cavity. So it can show up like this as a whole, but sometimes you can't see anything, but there's actually a cavity. When you do x-rays, you see our dentist and do x-rays, and we see that there's a cavity. But this is a slow process that can occur in kids or adults. But kids, if it happens in kids, it progresses faster because their teeth aren't as strong as adult teeth. So when this happens, it means a dentist has to identify it and a dentist has to fix it. There are ways for us to fix this problem. But this is
Dr. Archer, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I work in a preschool, and I've realized that in this, sometimes they'll take the kids, and then they'll be like, "Oh, they have surgery. They have an appointment for a surgery." And then when the child comes next time, they will lose maybe 3 or 4 teeth in the front, either the top or the bottom. Is that like ideal? Because they'll be like 3 or 4-ish, and then they will just like lose all that, like without the natural way of them losing the teeth.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, that community has a lot of problems with decay because of the sugar. I've been told they give their kids Coca-Cola young, very early. So soda is a big problem. So, okay, if they're coming back with tooth loss, I'm going to talk more about the treatment, but there's different lines of treatment. If it's minimal, we'll do a filling, and I'll talk more about that. If it's deeper, we might have to do a crown, a stainless steel crown. So for kids, most of the time we do crowns. If the cavity is so big that you have to clean so much of the tooth to get to clean the cavity, we can't just fill it. We have to put something on top to fix it. If it's really bad, or it depends on their age and the stage, we may have to pull the tooth out completely. That's not ideal. It's not good because, like you said, if they're like 3 or 4 in preschool, they're not going to get the replacement to like 7 or 8. It's not ideal, but in some situations, if it's gone to a certain point, that's the only thing we have to do. And now we're just waiting for the next one to come in. The same goes for adults. For adults, we can do fillings, we can do root canals and crowns. But if an adult comes with a decay that's so big, we may have to remove the tooth. In our case, as adults, there's nothing to replace it. So we have to replace it a different way, which I can talk more about later. But for kids, that's why prevention is key. Monitoring their diet, hygiene, home habits, so we don't get to that point. When we get to that point, there's some different things we may have to do. And if we have to take the tooth out, there's a way that we can preserve the space. I'll show a picture later. But if we can't preserve the space, that can be a problem. if you have to take several teeth out, the teeth can move, and then there's not enough space when the adult tooth wants to come in. Then you have to talk about braces. Then you have to talk about other options. So the best thing is to avoid that. But sometimes that is a problem we have to deal with. Dental cavities. So as I mentioned, sugars in the diet, fermentable carbohydrates, sucrose. So I mentioned the common culprits: candy, soda, certain sugars, certain snacks. Basically, I mean, even if you're eating healthy, you may get exposure to these things. But the problem is the frequency and duration. So if a child is drinking soda every day consistently, they're going to be more prone to this versus someone who has it on occasion for like a birthday. Once in a while, we have certain things. That's different from all the time. So you really want to monitor your child's diet. I know we as Ghanaians, we don't consume as much processed sugar as I've seen in our other counterparts. But keep an eye on that. So there's already bacteria in our mouth. We all have natural bacteria. But if there's sugar, the bacteria consume the sugar and they cause a certain type of environment for the teeth to get cavities. This is the most common disease in childhood. So it's actually a really big public health problem, dental cavities in children. So we're always having initiatives to combat that. And so fluoride is one of those things that is a big thing we're pushing for to prevent cavities. And so what do we do if that happens? Well, actually, let me continue. So there's something called early childhood caries. It's when a child under the age of 6 shows that they have one or more decayed surfaces. It's called early childhood caries. Because under age 6, it's pretty early to have a cavity. But some kids have that issue. And then if they have more than 3, and under the age of 3, then it's severe early childhood caries. This picture shows you, the top picture is just some white areas. Those white areas, it's like a cavity is starting. Then if it gets worse and it progresses, you get like this. So Sister Gifty was asking about a child who had their teeth taken out. If it gets like the second picture and it's progressing and we can't even do a crown, then we might take it out. Because if we leave it in the mouth, it's a source of infection. The decay is only going to progress because from there it goes deeper in the tooth. The tooth has layers. It goes deeper, deeper, deeper in the tooth. If it gets to the inside of the tooth, there's a nerve there and there's blood supply. And then bacteria can travel through our bloodstream to other places. And it's actually a risk for systemic infection. So we don't take this lightly at all. If it's minimal, we can do a filling or a crown. But if it gets to that point, we have to take the tooth out. We'll take the tooth out because we don't want it to spread. So there's levels. Normal, healthy. Then it gets a little bit chalky, white spots. Then it could get brown. Then it could get severe. So there's levels, and each level has a treatment. We want to keep our child in the normal, healthy range. If you're seeing a dentist regularly, we might notice it when it's in the white, chalky phase, and we can try to address it. We don't want to get to the second phase or the third phase. So that's why visiting a dentist is so important. So most people are asking, when do I take my child? You can take your child by age 1, which sounds very early, but it's actually we can do a lot if we start early. So you can actually start with a pediatric dentist. If you search Google pediatric dentist, you will find many of them in your area. By age 1, they should have about 8 teeth, 4 on bottom, 4 on top. The dentist will take a look, examine them, make sure there's nothing going on. They won't sit in the chair because they're a baby. They'll sit on your lap. The dentist will put their knee to your knee. The baby will sit on your lap and put their head back into the dentist's lap. And then we can look at it. We can do it cleaning. We do our own cleaning. At that age, we use a toothbrush as well, but we do a special type of cleaning. So we'll do a cleaning, and then we'll talk to you about nutrition, about oral hygiene, about your own oral health and your own habits and what you're passing down, about childproofing, because we want to prevent trauma. Trauma is also a big issue at this age. Children are falling, they're climbing, they're hitting their mouth on things. We want to prevent trauma. So we'll talk about safety in your home.
Dr.
That's,
Alfred, I have a question.
yes,
You said by age 1,
yes,
it's okay to take a child to see a pediatric dentist.
yes.
But I've seen children that are almost 18 months with no tooth. So in that case, do you still take them just for them to look at the gum, or what do you do at that point?
That's a good question. I would still take them anywhere from 12 to 18 months, even if they don't have any teeth. I would take them. I will have the dentist take a look in their mouth, see if there's any signs of the teeth coming soon. Um, if they're anywhere from 18 months to 2, they may even take a small X-ray to make sure it's coming like that. It's there underneath the gums. Just make sure they're on track. Kind of what to expect and anticipate and help you prepare for when that tooth comes in. I also see children in the practice I work at. I recently saw a child who was over the age of 1 who didn't have teeth yet, but it was still a really good opportunity for me to talk to the parents about what they should be doing in anticipation of the teeth coming in. So I still recommend it.
So the next question is, are X-rays good for children, or do you have a special type of X-ray specifically for the children?
Yeah, the X-rays. So usually with the X-rays, we start that closer to like 5 or so. Even though they have teeth in their mouth, we let them grow a little bit, get the full dentition, getting closer to like school age. There's a radiation exposure that comes from the X-rays. It's very minimal. It's safe, but we do use it selectively. So we let them get to about age 5 or so, and then that's when they can sit down in the chair and they can allow us to put the sensor in their mouth. So we put something in their mouth, then we put the X-ray unit to take the picture. But a special case when we'll take it earlier will be if there's been trauma. A child comes in, they chip their tooth, want to make sure everything's okay. If there's been trauma or the teeth have not come in on time and we're waiting and want to make sure they're coming in, then we will also take an X-ray early. But usually we wait a little bit so they can grow a little bit before we take them.
Yeah. Doctor,
Thank
I have
you.
a question too.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, when you take your child to the dentist and the dentist want to do a procedure, as a parent, can you seek for another opinion from what the dentist want to do to your child, or you have to just go by what the dentist say?
Yeah, that's a good question. You can do either. So on one hand, you can like move forward. Hopefully these days we have a lot of ways to explain things to parents. It used to be we would just say, "Oh, your child needs this. We need to do it." But now most of the offices have like intraoral pictures, or like me personally in my practice, I'll show the parents what I'm seeing on the X-ray and I'll explain it. I may even take a picture of what I'm talking about in the mouth or show them. I'll try to explain in more detail and allow them to ask questions. Usually they're comfortable if it's something straightforward. Something more invasive, I may explain more, or a parent may say, "We're going to go home and think about it." And you are free to get a second opinion. The patients will do that sometimes. They'll go to another dentist. But I would say majority of the cases, I'll be able to explain it in a way that they feel like, okay, I understand why she's doing that. I'm going to move forward. And they also have to kind of build a little bit of trust in the dentist. But if you don't feel comfortable, definitely you can get a second opinion. You don't have to move forward right away. But you can get a second opinion. But sometimes if like a filling, I will say usually that's pretty straightforward. Move forward with it. If they say they need a crown or extraction, pulling the tooth, then you may want to ask more questions and get a better understanding of why they're doing what they're doing. And hopefully they're willing to explain and they have a good bedside manner and they're friendly. But yeah, sometimes patients will come to me and talk about what a previous dentist recommended, or maybe a bad experience with previous dentist, and then try to explain my own rationale and they may end up staying. So it just depends on your comfort level.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you very much. I asked that question because we are talking to our Ghanaian community where we were not taken to dentists. So maybe when you have a toothache, or even with a toothache, our parents were trying to fix it for us,
yeah.
And this is the situation here that we have given birth. We were not given that, though we know it has affected us a lot, though. But the situation is, I take my child to a dentist. The dentist say, "Oh, okay, she has an infection on a baby teeth that is coming out, though the other permanent one is under it. So we have to do a surgery to take that baby teeth out, else it may affect the coming or the
Permanent.
permanent teeth."
Mhm.
As a mother, as a Ghanaian mother, let me talk from that perspective. I was not comfortable because anyway, the baby teeth is coming out. So why do you want to take my child through this stress doing that surgery? It was a little bit of, okay, let me go and talk about it. Fine. Then she decided to give me antibiotics rather to see if it is going to, instead of the surgery. So I accepted the antibiotics instead of the surgery. For the meantime, they said, we're going to study it for some time and see if it is going to work. So I accepted the antibiotics. That's why I'm asking you, is it right? I wasn't comfortable because I thought, oh, this happening to us and we get over it. So why the baby teeth is coming out and you still want to take my child through? But like you're explaining, I know and now I understand what you're talking about. But we are talking to Ghanaian parents. So I just want us to stress about the importance of these things that may happen when we go to see the dentist.
That's a big issue in our community because if we didn't grow up doing these things and we like everything turned out okay, it's kind of like, do my kids need some of these things that they're doing here? I just try to explain to people, if we know more, then we can do better. Like if we know what the effects are, the detriment, then we can do better. In my own family, I've had to explain things and things like that. But basically, if there's infection, usually we try to intervene. If we leave it, it may not be a problem. But on the off chance that it can spread and cause other issues, typically we'll try to intervene. Sometimes we do take out baby teeth because of that. And of course, naturally they will wiggle out later. But sometimes we just want to just remove that possibility of infection spreading. It's a case by case situation though. But I have done that. I have extracted baby teeth because I know they're going to be a problem in the mouth. But we as dentists, we have to think about the timing because again, we don't want the child to have a gap for years and be missing this tooth for a long time. So usually we have to play it by ear and use our clinical decision making. So like I said, it also depends on if you're seeing who you're seeing because every dentist, we're taught the same, but we all practice a little differently. So we have different philosophies. And then there's pediatric dentists, there's general dentists. So a pediatric dentist is a little bit more expert in this. So like if you're seeing a pediatric dentist, to be honest, I don't know if I would get a second opinion because they kind of like really know like what they're doing. General dentists, we have experience with kids, but we're not as experienced as pediatric dentists. So even me personally, I see some things on kids. I'm like, I have to refer you to a pediatric dentist because they're gonna know a little bit more. Some cases, I'll tell you this is what I think needs to be done. So just make sure you know who you're seeing and kind of what their experience is as well with kids.
Thank you, doctor. Another question. You were talking about self-confidence with our teeth and, the way we smile and present ourselves. In Ghana, when you have a gap, it's beautiful, right? But here, on the other hand, it's like you have a gap, you need to close it up. Like I have this like conversation with my daughter. She has gaps. She really wants to close it up right away. She's always talking about like getting the braces, and I know eventually I have to do it, but I keep telling her, "Oh, it's beautiful in our culture, you know." that's how we if you have a gap, very beautiful. When you smile, that gap like elaborates it more, you know. So how do we as Ghanaians um talk to our children or embrace the culture that we are in, that, you know, gaps are not like beautiful for the American society, just like we value it in Ghana?
This is a tough one because I'll talk about myself. I'm guilty. I had a gap and I asked my parents to close it. So I grew up here, right? I grew up in the US. Um, and so I begged, and they were like, okay, go. They're like, we'll do the braces. So, but that's actually how I ended up getting into dentistry, was when I got the braces. I decided I want to be a dentist. So it worked out that way for my career. But I think that what I've learned now and explaining it to people is that, again, every culture has a standard of beauty. So, but that they need to understand that the gap is beautiful. Only certain people have that gap. Some people even now want that gap. I've closed mine and I'm fine with it. But if I could go back, I've now learned, like, when you live in this country, it's hard because you're surrounded by the beauty standard, but we don't have to put ourselves into that because we come from a different place. That's what I'm going to try to teach my kids. It's something I didn't know when I was growing up here. Um, but it's not a problem, and it looks good. It's fine. It's just a different standard of beauty. And with the braces, braces are interesting because it is an aesthetic thing, but in some cases, it's also functional. Most of us as Ghanaians have spacing, so spacing is not a problem. Some people have more of crowding. So crowding is the opposite. Your teeth are too crowded. Sometimes in the cases of crowding, there's some issues with it's harder to keep your teeth clean, but that's not a problem for spacing. So um, it's more of an aesthetic thing when people want braces to close the gap. It's hard though if the child already has that in their minds. It's hard to kind of reverse that. There is a middle ground. It is possible to do braces to close gaps and retain this gap. So it is possible. Let's say there's other spacing and they want braces. It's possible to close everything except that and still have a little bit of that gap. But most of the time, people, when they do it, they just want everything closed. So it is tough to. But I think just explaining that it's a different beauty standard. It's the same thing like when we look at Americans have a certain build and we have a certain build, like the way our bodies is distributed, our nose, our lips. Sometimes we go to school and people make fun of those things. But it's like now the same people want it because they're now trying to get fillers and changing the way they look. So if we're following that beauty standard, later on we'll realize people actually want to look like us, you know. So that's why I try to explain to younger Ghanaians coming up that we shouldn't necessarily follow that standard, but it's something to think about.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barrow. I have two follow-up questions. I know during your presentation, you said fluoride is very important because it makes the teeth strong. And every 6 months, I know we have to take our children to the dentist for general cleaning, or if they need any salient or if they have any cavity, the dentist will ask you if you can make a follow-up appointment. Um, I have an older child that I know the fluoride doesn't cover anymore. But is it very important or can you stop at age 18? That is my first question. My second question is, in case they brush their teeth for the second time in the evening, and as we all know, children, they can sneak to eat a cookie or drink some juice. Can they rinse? Or if, let's say, the parent is asleep and they will not have the mindset to do all that dental care or oral hygiene the last minute before they go to bed, would that affect them? And I know someone who also doesn't drink any juice as a child. They eat veggies, but each time they get cavities. How can you explain that? It doesn't add up because they said you eat healthy, you get
We
cavity.
don't get it.
Or it's some of the teeth cavity prone. I don't get it. So if you can explain that.
Yeah. Okay, the fluoride. So fluoride is beneficial at any age, but in the pediatric population, it's more critical because their teeth are a little weaker, the baby teeth. So when they get adult teeth, they're stronger. And also because sometimes the hygiene isn't as good for children because you're trying to get and help them brush and you can't always brush well. So for somebody over the age of 18, I would say if it's feasible, continue doing your fluoride. In my office, we offer it. We realize the insurance most of the time does not cover it. So most of the time, fluoride can be anywhere from, let's say, $20 to $40 out of pocket. Depends on your office. I would say maybe even once a year, go ahead and do the fluoride. Just have that additional protection. It's helpful. If it's feasible, it's helpful. It's just another protection, I think. You asked about, I'm sorry, the second question was
The second question was about, how they can brush their teeth the second time and go and sneak up and eat some cookies.
So I tell people you want the last thing to touch your teeth should be your toothbrush and your toothpaste. So if they do eat something, it would be recommended that they would brush again. Now with kids, I know that's hard and they might not. So the best thing is just trying to build a habit of when we brush, we're done eating for the night. If there's exceptions, that's okay. Some nights, something happened or they watch a movie, they eat a snack or something. But we don't want it to be a habit that every time we brush, then we eat. It's not a good habit. This is a lot of this is about building habits. I would recommend brushing. I want to make one statement though, that when it comes to brushing after eating, ideally you would wait a little bit. So when you first eat, you're exposing your teeth to usually acidic foods. Usually the pH of our food is more acidic than what our mouth is neutrally. So if you eat and you brush right away and you do that a lot over time, it can actually erode your tooth. So I tell patients wait 30 minutes after eating. So it's tough. So basically it's not good to just eat and go to sleep. If you're going to eat something, drink some water, wait a little bit, 30 minutes, then brush, then go to sleep. But ideally, just brush and go to sleep, period. Also, people always ask in the morning, do I brush before or after I eat? I always tell patients, just brush right away when you wake up, first thing, so that you know you've brushed, you're done brushing. Then you go to eat and whatnot. Same thing, when you eat, you want to wait 30 minutes before you brush. So then you have to wait, and then you might forget, you go to work. So it's better to just brush the first thing in the morning. So that's the best thing to do with that. Is to just first thing in the morning you brush, last thing at night you brush.
I think we have a question on our screen. Sister Nana, she's asking, I want to know if a crown is required after a root canal, and if not, what happens?
So okay, let me explain what a root canal is first, and I'll know. So we talked about dental cavities. So if your cavity is, minimal, moderate, we can do a filling. But if the cavity is deeper in the tooth and it's gone closer to your nerve, which is the inside, then you'll need a root canal. You'll probably know because you'll have a toothache. Your tooth will hurt when cold touches it, when you chew. If you're sleeping in the night, you wake up, you feel your tooth, you probably will need a root canal. So root canal will go in and clean out the inside of the tooth, the nerve, and then fill it with something. She asked about a crown. So a crown then is a cap that goes on top of the tooth to cover it. So most of the time, a crown is required or recommended after a root canal, because after a root canal, the tooth can break very easily because it doesn't have its nerve and blood supply, so it becomes a little bit brittle. It just changes the properties of the tooth. So it's better after a root canal to get a crown. Generally speaking, there are exceptions, such as sometimes when you get root canal in the front tooth, you may not need a crown. It depends on how big the cavity was and how much tooth structure we had to drill to do the root canal. But imagine we have to make an opening in the tooth to go inside the tooth. Usually, like if you just put a filling there, it could break. So the crown is a covering. It's like a cap that covers the tooth. It's best to do that afterwards. Now that's for adults. So if we're talking about kids, we don't do root canals on kids. We do something else called a pulpotomy. It's what we call a pediatric root canal. After a pulpotomy, we do a crown. Most of the time, it's a silver crown just because it's easier to do quickly for the child, and that tooth will come out. But for adults, most of the time we do tooth-colored crowns. They also have gold crowns and silver crowns. But like now, these days, we mostly do tooth-colored crowns on adults because that's a permanent tooth that's going to be in your mouth. Unless you want gold. Some of the people want gold. I've done it before per patient's request, depending on the person, their culture. But most of the time, we do tooth-colored crowns, and I do recommend that.
I have a funny question that someone just texted me. She's asking, I know you, she said, Dr. Barrow, I know you deal more on the pediatric side, but with the root canal and our bones, because, you know, some of us still like to suck in all the good stuff in the bone when we eat. So how should we go about it?
So a couple of things on that. I've noticed in Africans, like when I see Ghanaians, Nigerians, just Africans, we have a certain pattern on our teeth. And I know why. It's the bones. So the bone, over time, the chewing on the bones, it can kind of wear down your tooth or even chip parts of your tooth. So it's not advised. I know it's what we do usually. It's not recommended to chew on that, at least a lot, because it is prone to wearing on your tooth and breaking teeth, like at least chipping them a little bit. So be aware of that. But in regards to a root canal, if you have a crown, the crown is set. Crowns don't really break for the most part. It takes a lot to break a crown or chip. It takes a lot to chip or break a crown. But if you had a root canal done and they didn't do a crown and you're chewing bones, that tooth could break very easily. Or let's say you're not seeing a dentist and you don't even know what's going on in your mouth, and you happen to have the cavity inside the tooth, and you're chewing a bone and you see your tooth has broken. It could be there was already an underlying cavity that you didn't know about, and the pressure from the bone was just enough to break the tooth. I'll have patients come in and like, oh, my tooth broke, and they were eating something. It wasn't even that hard, but it's because something was already going on inside the tooth they didn't know about. That's why it's important to be seeing a dentist, because we will be able to see these things before they happen. We will know what's going on in your mouth, and we can anticipate what may need to be done to prevent those things from happening. Also,
Wow. Okay.
I do
Go
have
ahead.
some more slides. I just want to let you know.
It's here for wow. It's a lot of information. I was saying for Safi now I join here. Yene Dr. Ochre, dentist and Ray and Yatsna say Nkomo. Na yen oral care and wasem and Ray Gusua ye king. Minim se be comma me a comma one so. Na Freunia send the link no more will be because this is very important. Yeah, way and crobne de. I just was saying where kaka be how and sana wako pedantist be a chair queen. Then so ye suen who say important say ye be call ye dentist ho intentem. E be cry na infection be because so ewo wenum na uni ho hwe. Inti yestremo ye suen de ho adro. And it secretary but sister there will be hiding say answer they are fine but your America crabby away him say bia ye tie for no e be the questions be e by said the bear doctor e be to me actually mu amaya ye beda wase
Yo, sister Gifty, me da si bebre doctor ye da wase ne de wo de akọ school pa think say we are just ye abasobode as dentistry no ayin Selina benya ba akọ Gifty benya ba akọ na me se menya bi ye da si bebre as ye for answer na ye de etwa sobre mu no ye ko commercial break kakra ye ba ye betwa so ye da.
They are four women. They are beautiful with brains. They are eloquent, decent, wise, and experienced. You have heard many, the funny. Now, it's time to hear the experienced and the brainy. Meet Selena, Dorcas, Gifty, and Annette as they present the Real Nkomo nketenkete. Nkomo biaye sesi chin. The asentakre nu assume the Real Nkomo nketenkete. Showing live this and every Sunday, 7 p.m. on Era One Radio on Facebook and on YouTube, Era One Radio and on Taibo channel. Kaise, so we see the Real Nkomo nketenkete a what brabon tete. We nyan konkonsa. We the Real Nkomo nketenkete.
Yo, at here for your damn was and at this time there, your friend of listeners kana. Now, so mammy, I'm manne. Now, sister gives you a Russia me semini ni juma na mayen. Sabri, and your questions to be every producer, a ho and unti ye the betu, and I mean, say, questions, no, depend on man starting in term, and how many I'm here after program number to me, I call here. Now, doctor, the question is first person or say, when should my children have their first dentist visit? I think you visited it when you started the whole thing. When should my children have their first dental visit? Second one, I'm making you know what I have to say. Do baby teeth really matters? That is the second question that I have. Doctor, who we are? Then I have my own question that I want to ask. So me fan so now my own question is say, I know you are a mother, and when you are pregnant, they encourages you more to see the dentist. Does it have a link with the childbearing, or is it that visit is it important for the mother or for the baby? Because they stress that as a pregnant woman, you have to go for dentist checkup. Is it going to help me as a mother, or it has any effect on the baby when she comes out with her teeth? So that is my own question. But for the the first and the second questions, we got it, but I think they were not here when we started the whole thing. So if you can just brief it.
Yes, so I recommend you take your child for the first time at age 1, which I think people are really surprised when they hear that because it sounds very early. But it's just a matter of habits, and it's a matter of setting the stage for them going forward, especially if you do have dental insurance. We can talk a little bit more about people who don't have dental insurance, but if you do have dental insurance for the kids, it's going to cover it. It's a very quick and easy visit, but it's just beneficial to set that habit because, kids, they see everything and they pick up on things. So it's like, okay, I just know that I go to the dentist. I know it's important. And so that's why. But if for some reason you haven't done it and they're getting to school age, 2, 3, 4, 5, take them. Anytime you can take them and just start the pattern. So as far as the question, do baby teeth matter? I kind of went through some information in my slides. They're very important because they set the stage for the permanent teeth. If something happens to the baby teeth and they have to come out early, then you throw everything out of whack because, oh yeah, so I'll go back. This is what makes them important for the child to eat and speak, for confidence, aesthetics, because they hold the place for the adult teeth. So if they're missing or they're decayed or infected, they can affect the tooth behind them. They also help the kid develop their craniofacial system, so develop their head and neck correctly. They need the teeth in place because the presence of teeth also helps the bone around it grow. So it's just important. And it's a habit that the child is setting moving forward. So they are very important. And whenever there are issues with the baby teeth, it can affect the adult tooth. Also, don't forget, there's a point in time where it's mixed. So from 0 to 6, you have just baby teeth. Then from 6 to 12, you have mixed dentition. So some baby teeth, some adult teeth. So at that point, you need the baby teeth where they are so that the adult teeth can come at the right times. And the habits that you set, now they're going to the adult teeth. So if they're like, oh, we only brush once a day, when we do it sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't, because it's baby teeth, Well, by the time you know it, it's actually adult teeth. It happens so quickly. A 6-year-old will get molars in the back, and they still have baby teeth, and it's all combined. So especially 6 to 12, that's also very critical time because of that. So that was the second question. The third question, I believe you asked was, you have to refresh my memory.
Okay, so when you are pregnant, they ask you to see a dentist. How important is that? Just to talk to our newly mothers, those who want to be mothers.
So pregnancy is a very interesting time for your teeth because obviously everything is changing in your body. Also, your mouth changes. So for whatever reason, because of the hormonal fluctuation, your gums become more prone to irritation and inflammation. So most people develop pregnancy gingivitis. Gingivitis is inflammation. It means that when you brush, it may be bleeding a little bit. When you floss, it's bleeding more easily. That's gingivitis. And that means that the gums are a little bit unhealthy. And it's common in pregnancy. So in pregnancy, it's actually a critical time to keep your teeth clean, because if you allow that inflammation to continue and progress and you're not cleaning your teeth well, your dentist is not cleaning your teeth well, the inflammation in the mouth can actually cause preterm labor. So there's been a link. There's a lot of connections between overall health and body health. They can actually be linked with people who went into labor too early. Now it's a loose link. It's not black and white, but there's a connection there. There's other issues they've connected it to, but any sort of inflammation in the body is not good because inflammatory markers can spread. So anyway, you want your gums to be healthy. So you want to be seeing your dentist for the cleaning, and you want to be brushing and flossing well from home. The other thing is during pregnancy, especially the first trimester, you're prone to morning sickness. Some people are throwing up, so the vomiting. Some people are not throwing up, but they have a strong gag reflex, makes it harder to brush. So some people kind of put brushing on the back burner, and their dental health suffers. I've seen people who come to me after pregnancy with a lot of issues, and it's because they weren't really brushing, because they're like, I couldn't brush well. The thing is, you kind of have to push through and find a way to continue your oral health. Otherwise, you'll have the baby, and then you could have gum disease afterwards, or you could have more dental decay afterwards, cavities. And that's a big problem that we see in the postpartum population. So that's why you want to make sure you're taking care of your teeth. Also, if you have multiple pregnancies, and each pregnancy you have dental issues, and it kind of goes untreated, you could end up after your kids having more issues with your teeth. Some people will come later. They'll wait till they finish having kids because they're busy with the kids. They don't have time to take themselves. But it's important to try to prioritize that throughout the process.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Autry. For Breno aso. Yebenya anenka ye toaso nenso bibia e wone bre. Dr. Autry, yebeda was say around 1. The Real Nkomo nketenkete yeto yensa frɛ wa bana wa beboa yenim say your Ghanaian community health, your oral health, your physical health, mental health, nina ehu hia entina kwesi enyumre bia no yeshia na ye educate themselves said be ya ye betimi enya apomuden ya kwan nyina mu no na ya hwe ye fie ye husbands ye brothers ye community ye dwumem ye benya ahoden na yetumi aye bibia esese enti in a nutshell I'll give you just 1 minute now you just summarize everything so that because there a lot of information we couldn't cover everything within 1 hour. And if you have anything that you left out or something that you want to repeat so that we will really take care of that, this is the time, please.
Yeah, my patron, doctor, I've added to it. Say in your Ghanaian community, any mokasa. So big Becca say, my excuse and say me need health insurance. Is there any place? So be only health insurance, crano, obetumi enya sa help we ama ne ba obetumi so de atodwa se de be ya beboa ahofo no me da se.
Okay. I'll answer that question. I have a question. Do I have time to go back to my slides? Or should I save it for next time? I had a couple more.
We can save it for next time. I know we're going to invite you again.
Yeah, we'll bring it because I also have another presentation I can do specific to Ghanaians, but adults.
Yes.
So I can do that one later.
Yeah.
Okay. So the insurance question. So a couple of things with dental insurance. Obviously, dentistry is not cheap. With insurance, it helps. If you don't have insurance, a lot of the stuff can add up. But one thing is there's usually in every community, every locale, community dental clinics. So if you Google and type in your city or the major city near you, community dental clinic, there's usually kind of like more of a public health aspect. Mm-hmm. So they'll see you uninsured and they have their own fee schedule that's lower. That's one, community dental clinic. Number two, dental school. So most major cities have a dental school and the students and the residents see patients. So don't let it scare you because I know people are like, they're students, they're practicing on us. But the thing is, when you go to a dental school, maybe you'll have a dental student seeing you, but they're being overseen by a faculty. So you're actually getting very good care because step by step, everything they're doing, they're really making sure, double, triple checking everything they do. The only problem there is time. It takes more time. It's not quick. The way a private practice is quick. They may tell you, I need you to be here for 2-3 hours just to do the checkup. Like, so it's kind of long, but it's way cheaper. Very, very cheap. Especially if you need a specific procedure. Like, you need a root canal. You need a crown. Your child wants braces. Usually they'll do everything in the dental school. The undergraduate, the dental students, and then they have residents. So they have people who are already dentists who are training to become a specialist. I'm a general dentist, but someone might be training to become an orthodontist. They can see you to do braces and it'll be cheaper. Someone may be training to become an endodontist, which is a specialty where all they do is root canals. They'll do it well, it'll be cheap. So community dental clinics, dental school, and then there's also additional plans on the kind of the healthcare marketplace that you can find your own independent dental plan. And some of the offices are offering payment plans. So don't think you can't go if you have insurance. For example, the office I work at, people come, they don't have insurance. We have a kind of a plan where you pay per month and we kind of give you your own insurance through our office. It's becoming more common. Some of them are like credit cards. Some of them, it doesn't involve your credit. So you can find out what the options are. My last final word is just prioritize your dental health. The way you prioritize your overall health, prioritize your dental health. God has given us 2 sets of teeth. Our first set as children, second set as adults. After that, there's no more. So if we don't take care of them, we have to find other ways to replace them, which I can talk about in another presentation. There's different ways to replace missing teeth. But just prioritize it the way you prioritize everything else because it is important. And just because we may not have grown up doing that, it's okay. Now we know more. We're educating ourselves. It's something that we should also prioritize for ourselves and our children. So that's what I would say in closing.
Wow, what a day. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you today. And hopefully we will invite you again. Not next week, but some other time.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Therefore, say, breno aso. Media nyama fatu mi bottom ne say, and you can say, me dental health, diagro. Also, men found so dear in niagro. Na osrea osife fe etumi eguso kama ene ye dwumede no nyina ebesi ha dasene ye besan hia. Bye bye.